So you guys agree that if for athletes, they should eat like 3 hours before going to bed?
Yeah, right
See,
around that.
this is what's great because I like to have my athletes eat 30 minutes before bed. But it goes back to what John is saying. We have validated that that doesn't create an internal stress on this individual. But what we're trying to do is bridge 9 to 10 hours of sleep. Because if I take an 18-month-old baby and I ask him or her to go to, or I put him to bed and I don't feed them before they go to bed, they're going to wake up somewhere during the night because the hierarchy of needs are I'm hungry. I don't care about sleep. You've got to satisfy hunger. So now what's happened is you have a negative impact on sleep. But to John's point, if somebody eats and you look at your stress score, Johnny, you can show on the screen right here. Just go on the far left side, go to health stats.
I can, but let's get it back a little bit to I know
But
the
you can
chat.
see this.
Their
You can
chat's
see
getting all
this.
pissed off about we're on this topic too long. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I think it's very relevant for fitness guys for riding because this is going to enable you to be more up to par, and not many people talk about this stuff. And I've got two professional coaches on the show today. I want to make sure we talk about it.
Yeah, the only asterisk I will say though on all of this, and I know Robb's seen this, and I don't know if anybody has an actual answer to this, but I think due to the amount of adrenaline going through your body riding, I don't see this as much with endurance athletes, but I see it in moto. There is a lot of stuff happening with HRV that does not add up with moto guys. And so I would caution people who ride even more to not take HRV to the T. Like I've seen some crazy stuff. And obviously we know riding's, hard on your body and, it's a high heart rate and all that stuff. But with that being said, so are a lot of other sports. And I don't see the same HRV trends that I see in moto. So there's something on a cellular level going on that's really disrupting HRV that, we can kind of guesstimate what's going on. But the reality is it's kind of wild.
So resting heart rate is more important to follow over when it comes to the amount of stress that's on your body. You both agree?
Yeah, it's the most immediate biofeedback metric you'll get. And the beautiful part with Garmin is you can look at today against 7 days, 4 weeks, 6 months, and a year, look for trends and patterns. Because once the outdoor season starts, you can look at June to June of this year to last year to kind of see what kind of impact did the residual fatigue of training and traveling and racing have. You can look at volume of training, what percentage was aerobic and anaerobic, and then you can look at the impact on that human body, factoring in food, hydration, and sleep. But remember, it's all about history, and as John said, it's about the individual biochemistry and all that goes with it.
Whenever I know that my resting heart rate is closer to 40, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for a harder day. Just plain and simple. That's basically what I use it for. When my resting heart rate is getting over 50, I'm like, I need to relax. So John, with training with some top guys, how much sleep do you recommend them getting a night? I've heard crazy things for other athletes to where they almost get anywhere between 9 to 12 hours of sleep.
Oh, I would love that. The more sleep, the better. I mean, in a perfect world, if you can sleep, 8 to 9 hours every night and then be able to take a nap, you're kind of dialed as an athlete. The reality is with the travel schedule and everything, that generally isn't going to happen. But yeah, as much sleep as possible. I mean, there's not a whole lot of downside to sleeping 9 to 10 hours every day if you can.
Okay. Which is honestly, it seems like as you get older and busier, if you could get anything close to 7, I feel like you're doing good.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard too, because like Jason, for instance, has a kid. He has a life outside of racing. So it's even harder for him. He does a really good job with sleeping. There's this like weird, and Robb, there's this weird guilt around sleep in moto. Like like you're soft if you sleep a lot. And so you kind of like, especially with a lot of the gnarly guys that I've worked with, you kind of have to undo that a little and explain to them that is kind of the biggest part of their training program, honestly, is how much they're sleeping and if they can sleep, especially once you get into, you know, a 450 Supercross schedule, sleep really becomes, you know, anytime you're not getting enough sleep, mistakes just, you know, go up and up and up. And so, you know, the more sleep you can get, the better year round, but especially in a crazy series like Supercross.
And Johnny, this is something that we look at with, you know, all of our riders, athletes. You know, if you look at our professional runners, they sleep literally 12 hours a day because they try to sleep 9 to 10 hours a night, and they try to do, pardon me?
That's like a baby. That's like a toddler.
Well, but what I find is interesting in John's point is we have, these are marathoners that are running, you know, we've got a couple that are running 205, 208 for a marathon. I mean, it's world-class level, sleeping 12 hours a day, 10 hours at night, 2-hour naps. And yet people will look at those results and then think that they can do it differently. You can't. The body needs to be rested. Like John's saying, it's an uphill battle because people think sleep is making you look or appear weak instead of recognizing that's when your body gets a chance to rejuvenate itself from the inside out. The other thing to add to your question about sleep is it's not only a quantity of sleep, but you've got to look at the quality. Whether you, like John alluded to earlier, the Whoop, or you're using, you know, I'm a big fan of the Garmin because I think it's a very easy dashboard to be able to interpret. If you're not getting 2 hours of deep sleep, you've got to realize your body's not releasing HGH and testosterone, which can only be released in REM 3. It's physiological fact. There's nothing we can do to argue about it. So if you're in bed for 8 hours and it's very light sleep, your brain is rejuvenated at REM 1, your hormonal system is rejuvenated at REM 3. REM 2 is just transitional. So again, it's not just about how long are you laying in bed, it's what are you getting out of the quality of time that you're in bed. That's why you've got to satisfy hunger. You've got to balance that finite volume of training, intensity, and frequency to the point that the body adapts, but doesn't get overworked, but has to get enough work that it doesn't go backwards and have a regression. So that's why you need someone like John on a full-time basis. Not a sales pitch, it's just reality.
Yeah, the craziest sleep thing the craziest thing that I realized how important it was. I was a teenager over in Sweden doing a training camp, and I was just coming from a US culture, which is, you know, you sleep 5 hours a night and you train harder than anybody, and that's just kind of what you do. And I was over there cross-country skiing, and at the there's an indoor ski tunnel in Torsby, Sweden that's really cool. It's like 3 kilometers. But anyways, I would sleep. We do 2-a-days every single day. So I'd sleep, we do morning session, and I was young and naive, and we would do every day after lunch. It was 2 hours mandatory in bed. You didn't have to sleep necessarily, but you had to be in bed for 2 hours, try to nap 6 days a week, every week. And that was kind of my first wake up call of like what it really took to be a good athlete. And, you know, the US culture, like that doesn't exist. I try to get anybody to just lay down in the middle of the day. And it sounds so dumb because if you're busy, of course, that's all you want to do is just relax. But as an athlete, like you have a lot of time some days, and it's just, you know, there's other things you want to do and all that stuff. But yeah, just even laying down for, you know, an hour or whatever and getting a 15-minute nap in it's almost always worth it.
Yeah, it's a game changer for sure. There's no doubt about it.
I've had some privateers stay at my house that have interesting habits per se, because of just how stressful Supercross and how mental it is. Some guys would have heated blankets, some guys would have weighted blankets, some guys would have a noise machine, and like they were very religious about making sure they got good sleep. I gave him kind of a hard time about it, but then I thought to myself, I was like, you know what? Being older, this is definitely helping. Do it. I probably should have done it as well.
If you can't run a 2-hour marathon on 4 hours of sleep and 900 milligrams of caffeine, I don't even know what you're doing, to be honest with you. Like, you cough through that's all there is to it, okay?
Yeah. The multitasker is back.
I'm an avid napper, though. I will say 45 minutes in the afternoon every single day. I'm in on that.